Illman and Mike Beer. Race number 9 at Churchill Downs on Saturday is the Grade 3 Locust Grove Stakes for fillies and mares. Let's take a peek at this field. They're going to travel 1 mile and a 16th. $100,000 is the purse, and the horse to beat is the Churchill Loving number 3 Blue Prize. The last 2 times she raced under the Twin Spires, she won the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis. She won the Grade 2 Fall City. She's got the class lines. 1 mile and a 16th seems a little bit short for her. She seems to excel at 1 mile and an 1/8. But she's the class of this race and probably the horse to beat.
Yes, I agree with that. I think she's way the horse to beat in here. And you're right, the 1 mile and a 16th, it's a little short for her. I guess when you get right down to it, though, she's got the best races. She's got that good tactical speed, too, where it doesn't feel like the 16th of a mile shorter than she wants to go can be a real excuse for her. You know, we'll see what happens. I took a shot against her, but I have no illusions about who the horse to beat is.
There doesn't appear to be a lot of pace in this race. We're going to see the Timeform US pace projector. They've got a blue bar that indicates that the pace is going to be probably slow and favoring horses on or near the early lead. And they've got Blue Prize right there on the lead. And that's what I would do if I was Julian Leparoux. I would go.
Yeah, I agree with that because she does have enough speed to just go out there and set the pace in here. Unless somebody just decides to go on a mission, you know, other guys will be looking at the PPs too and say, you know, we got enough speed. Let's try and get to the front in this race. And that could happen, but if it doesn't, just put her on the front.
The number 5 Pinch Hit is a stakes winner at Churchill Downs, winner of the Dogwood last fall at 7 furlongs. She has won at 1 mile and a 16th, 2 starts back. Last time out in the Groupie Doll Stakes, she attacked on the turn and she was just overwhelmed by the winner's Champagne Problems, a horse we'll get to in a moment. I really couldn't find an excuse for her that day.
I agree with that. I mean, she got a good trip in that race. She just really wasn't any match for a horse who's just gotten into really good form in her recent starts. We'll see if Pinch Hit can turn it around. I do feel like shorter is probably a little bit better for her.
Pinch Hit is trained by Brad Cox. So is the 7 Tiger Moth, the horse that really likes to make one run from the back of the pack. And considering that pace projector, that might not be a recipe for success. They tried to keep her a little bit closer to the pace in the Grade 3 Shoe V last time out. Yeah. She was no match for Gate to Wire winner Farrell Wildcat, who came back to run 3rd in the classy Personal Ensign with a 90 buyer. It just seemed, though, that after her win in the Houston Ladies Classic, she's really curtailed her form.
I agree with that. I mean, she pulled off a big upset in that race, and since then, she just hasn't really come close. And then when you go back prior to that race, too, sort of towards the end of last year, and she wasn't coming close in those races either. I don't know where she is in her form right now. She was awful last time.
Here's a nutty horse that I want to fool around with in the exotics, and that's the 8 Sailors Valentine, who you can see can be close to the pace. Now, she pulled off a tremendous upset winning the Grade 1 Ashland last spring at Keeneland, and since then hasn't really come close to that effort. She is going turf to dirt, and I thought she ran okay in her most recent start on dirt. A 1-turn mile at Churchill. The outside seemed like the place to be, and once she made the lead in the stretch, she kind of drifted down towards the rail, which was the deeper footing. Probably not good enough to beat the top ones, but I could use her underneath.
I see. Yeah, I agree with that. She's got to improve to get a piece of this, but there's no reason to think that she can't do it. She is still relatively lightly raced, and you're right, she does have good enough tactical speed to pull a trip in this race.
Mannerly just didn't fire for one reason or another last time out at Delaware. I don't know what it was. It preceded a little bit of a layoff. I mean, we haven't seen her in 3 months, so maybe there was a bit of an injury. It was a good race. Sneaky Betty, the 3rd finisher, came back to run 2nd to a late in the Delaware Cap with a 90 buyer. The runner-up won at Saratoga with an 81 buyer. Her previous races were close to the pace and solid enough performances, but that Obey just left a bad taste in my mouth.
I agree. She just, for whatever reason, didn't show up that day. Maybe you shouldn't be too hard on her for that race because she's another horse. She's got really good tactical speed. She could get a great trip in this race if she can improve enough to win it. I took a long look at her. I guess the thing I like least about her is she's not going to be a great price in this race, I don't think. And I don't think I would take too short a price on her. And you also have to go back to that win. She won at the end of the year last year over this track and this distance. And she beat a pretty good horse that day in Valladorna. But she also got the most perfect of perfect trips in that race. I don't know, Dan. I'm sort of torn on her. I wouldn't take a short price on her.
Streamline's an old class master. She's banked almost $900,000. She's a multiple graded stakes winner. And I like what Brian Williamson did last time out. He put her on the turf to try to wake her up off a couple of subpar efforts. She came through with the win, and it's noticeable when you look at your lifetime formulator past performances that the one time in her career she went turf to dirt, she won by 15 3/4 with an 87 buyer speed figure. At that time, her best buyer by a long way. She can be closer than some of these deep closers.
Right. Yeah, no, she went turf to dirt in 2015 and beat Illinois Breds.
True.
The length of the stretch. This is a different situation, but I hear what you're saying because her form just hadn't been good before he switched her to turf last time, and it was nice to see her wake up a little bit and win another race, because it's pretty clear that if she shows up in this race and runs her best race, she can beat this field. She's a pretty good horse. She's the kind of horse, so if she's really going to be 15 to 1, I'm going to use her somewhere.
Dutch Parrot was in the right place at the right time last time out at Thistledown, coming off a race at Indiana Grand that was controlled on the front end by Pinchit and Awestruck. She tried to come from last. She finished with some good energy, and she just caught an overbet Sneaky Betty last time out, and she also got a really clever ride, angling down to the inside of the drifting pace setter to win, but it was only with an 83 buyer, and just consider, that's her best ever fig.
Yeah, right. That's the best race she's ever run, and everything sort of conspired to lead to that performance. She can't win this race or even get a piece of it if she just runs that race back. So it's just a question of whether you think she's good enough or she's in the kind of form where she can improve again in this race. I'm not so sure she can.
Louisiana-bred Pacific Pinks won about 1 million stakes races in her native state. First time for Steve Asmussen in the Groupie Doll, far behind early, past some tired horses in the lane. She's run some decent figs in the past, but she kind of seems like a listed state-bred stakes horse and not really of the graded stakes level.
Yeah, I was a little interested that Asmussen tried this race with her, if only because it feels like it's just going to be too tough for her. I also don't like her running style, where she doesn't have any early speed at all.
Let's take a look at our top selection for the Grade 3 Locust Grove Stakes. We're both going to go with Champagne Problems, who just feels like the now filly right now for Ian Wilkes. Kevin Burrell was able to find the rail in the early part of the Groupie Doll, but once he took her to the outside, this filly started running, and she was a little awkward. She made an early lead change, but she just ran right by those leaders like there was no problem, and she's pretty versatile. She can stay close.
I agree with that. She has the right running style, I think, to get a trip in this race. And I was just taken by her last couple of races. I really feel like she might be a filly who's turned the corner and isn't just in really good form right now. I'll admit, I'm not so sure that I feel like more distance is better for her. I wonder how far she wants to go. Two-turn racing may not necessarily be her thing, but in the form she's in right now, I just have to take a shot.
4 to 1 for our top pick in this race, Champagne Problems. Mike's going 2-3-1. I'm going 2-3-5-8 in the Grade 3 Locust Grove, one of 3 graded stakes races at Churchill Downs on Saturday. This race has an approximate post time of 4:53 Eastern. Best of luck.